London, 1980. The city was buzzing, but beneath its familiar streets and fog-laden skyline, a secret operation was about to unfold. One that would erase a piece of history so completely that most would never even know it existed. Broad Street Station, once a proud monument of rail engineering and a gateway to London's financial heart, was about to disappear. Built in the late 19th century, Broad Street Station had been a marvel of its time. A vast steel-framed terminal, bustling with commuters and gleaming with the sheen of progress. Yet by 1980, it had fallen into obscurity. The trains had slowed, the crowds had thinned, and whispers of its demolition began to circulate. But this wasn't just any demolition. It was Operation Erasing Broad Street Station, a plan wrapped in secrecy and intrigue, linked to something far stranger, Tartaria. Tartaria, a name that conjures images of lost civilizations and hidden technologies, was rumored to have left its mark across Europe in the form of architectural wonders, buildings that defied logic, structures that seemed centuries ahead of their time. And now, some believed, London was hiding evidence of it. Broad Street Station, with its intricate ironwork and mysterious inscriptions, wasn't just a station. It was a piece of a puzzle that some powerful entity wanted to vanish. On the night of the operation, fog rolled over the streets like a ghostly tide. Workers arrived under the cover of darkness, machinery humming ominously. No announcements, no press, no public warnings. It was as if the station was being erased not just from the city, but from memory itself. Locals who had lingered near the station that night described a strange feeling, as if the air itself had thickened. Some claimed to see shadows moving across the platforms, shadows that didn't belong to humans. The story becomes even stranger when you consider the timing. 1980 was a year of tension, political unrest, and secret agendas. Britain was grappling with economic crises, strikes, and a society in flux. Yet in the heart of London, this operation proceeded quietly, almost imperceptibly, as if the city itself was complicit in forgetting one of its own monuments. And here's the curious part. Why Broad Street Station? Why erase this particular structure while leaving so many other old buildings standing? Historians and urban explorers would later speculate about Tartaria's influence, noting architectural details that didn't match conventional Victorian styles. Could it be that someone feared what the station represented? Or perhaps it was simply seen as an eyesore to modern redevelopment plans. Either way, the erasure was methodical, almost surgical. By dawn, the station was gone, or so it seemed. Where once stood a hub of iron and glass, there was only an empty lot, waiting for the city to move on, as if a century of history had been wiped clean in a single night. But for those who knew how to look, subtle traces remain. Shadows in old photographs, peculiar angles in nearby buildings, and the lingering whisper of a secret that London never truly forgot. As the first light of morning struggled to pierce the London fog, the reality of what had happened began to sink in. Broad Street Station, once alive with the clatter of wheels and the murmur of thousands of commuters, had vanished without a trace. Officially, it was called redevelopment, but those who had been there the night before knew something far more deliberate had taken place. The operation itself had been astonishingly precise. Heavy machinery, cranes and trucks worked in coordinated silence. Bulldozers tore through steel beams with terrifying efficiency. The station's grand arched roof, once a jewel of Victorian engineering, was ripped apart as if it had never existed. Some witnesses later spoke of the eerie calm among the workers, almost robotic, as if following instructions they didn't question. Security personnel were everywhere, but strangely, they didn't interact with the public. It was as if the city itself had authorized a blackout, a sanctioned invisibility for one of its own monuments.
Then came the whispers of Tartaria. Urban explorers and conspiracy theorists began noticing anomalies. Certain sections of the station, it was claimed, didn't conform to known architectural practices of the era. The ironwork had patterns that seemed to tell a story, symbols that didn't belong in Victorian London. Some believed Broad Street Station was built on knowledge, ancient, perhaps even forbidden, preserved by engineers who had glimpsed secrets lost to time. And now it was being obliterated. Stories from that night grew stranger. One foreman recalled hearing strange mechanical noises that couldn't be explained by demolition equipment alone, like gears turning deep underground, accompanied by a low hum that made the hair on his neck stand up. Another worker claimed to have seen a figure on the roof, moving with unnatural speed, vanishing before anyone could approach. Most dismissed these tales as post-traumatic exaggeration, yet the accounts shared a consistency that could not be ignored. Meanwhile, photographs taken by casual onlookers began circulating in hidden corners of London's underground circles. When examined closely, some images appeared distorted, edges of the building shimmering unnaturally, as if reality itself resisted the station's destruction. Was it mere coincidence, or was Broad Street Station tied to something larger, something that governments and historians alike had quietly decided must be erased? The aftermath was equally unsettling. Maps and railway records began to show gaps, schedules suddenly missing, as if the station had never existed. Even the locals struggled to recall its true scale. For those who remembered, the loss was personal, a connection to a time when London's heartbeat was centered around this iron and glass giant. But for the city, life carried on. And that, perhaps, was exactly the point. What makes Broad Street Station's erasure so fascinating isn't just the demolition. It's the secrecy, the anomalies, and the lingering hints of a hidden story. A story tied to Tartaria, to architectural mysteries, and to forces that may have wanted London's past rewritten before anyone could question it. Decades passed, and Broad Street Station became a ghost in the memories of Londoners, a place spoken of in hushed tones, glimpsed only in old photographs and faded postcards. Yet the whispers of Tartaria refused to fade. Urban explorers, historians, and curious investigators began uncovering fragments, hidden tunnels beneath the city streets, blueprints mysteriously erased from archives, and iron relics that didn't match any known era of engineering. Some theorists suggested that Broad Street Station had been more than a transportation hub. Its design hinted at a network, a city within a city, powered by knowledge and technology that mainstream history refused to acknowledge. Could Tartaria, a civilization supposedly lost to time, have left traces here, hidden in plain sight? Perhaps the demolition wasn't just redevelopment. Perhaps it was an attempt to erase the tangible proof of a hidden past. Then there are the personal accounts that send shivers down the spine. People who worked near the station in its final days spoke of strange electromagnetic interference, radios cracking, watches stopping, compasses spinning wildly. Local legends told of shadows that moved independently, as if the station's spirit resisted its erasure. Even decades later, a faint hum could be heard near the old site, a frequency just beyond human hearing, almost like a heartbeat from the past. Today, walking along the streets of modern London, it's easy to forget that a colossal station once dominated the skyline. Modern buildings stand in its place, sleek and anonymous. Yet for those who dig deep, the traces remain. Architectural oddities in neighboring structures, cryptic symbols etched into stone, and the occasional anomaly caught on drone footage. Broad Street Station may be gone, but the questions it raises about Tartaria, lost civilizations, and hidden knowledge remain alive.
The story of Operation Erasing Broad Street Station is not just about a building. It's about the fragility of history, the power of erasure, and the mysteries that hide in plain sight. London, like the station, carries secrets beneath its streets, in its walls, and perhaps in dimensions we have yet to comprehend. And if you listen closely, the hum of the past still whispers, daring us to remember what was almost lost forever.